Level 1. The loader, age, 19, the muscle and the rhythm. You're 19 years old. You didn't choose armor, armor chose you. The recruiter looked at your file, noted the width of your shoulders, and pointed left. There was no ceremony, no grand speech, just a fingerprint, a service number, and a duffel bag with a stranger's name scratched out on the tag. 3 days later, you're at Fort Bliss, Texas. The sun here doesn't ask permission, it just hits you. Dust gets into everything, your teeth, your ears, your soul. Then you see it, the M1A2 Abrams. 73 tons of depleted uranium and steel. It doesn't look real. Your sergeant catches you staring and doesn't smile. You don't drive it. He barks. You feed it. Learn the difference. Your job is simple in theory, brutal in practice. You pull a 45-pound shell from the ready rack. You swing it. You ram it into the breech. You clear your arm before the block slams shut, or you lose it. You have to do this in under 4 seconds. You do it while the tank is bucking over broken terrain. You do it when the interior is 110 degrees, and the air smells like cordite and sweat. On day 1, you drop the round. Your crew chief, Staff Sergeant Darren Howell, doesn't yell. He just looks at you with a specific kind of disappointment that burns worse than the sun. You pick it up. Your lower back screams. You do it again. By week 2, you're faster, but 4 seconds isn't a goal. It's the minimum requirement to stay alive. At night, you tape your fingers to keep the breech from eating them. You are the muscle of a machine that doesn't care about you, and you're learning to love it anyway. In this crew, speed is respect. Level 2, the driver, age, 21, the solitude of the hull. Promotion doesn't feel like a step up. It feels like being handed a different set of problems. You sit lowest in the tank, sealed into a reclining seat in the forward hull. Your world is reduced to 3 periscopes and a thermal display. If the tank takes a catastrophic hit, you are statistically the least likely to get out. Everyone knows this. Nobody says it. Your instructor, Sergeant First Class Elena Vargas, has 12 years in armor. She explains the 1,500 horsepower turbine engine like she's explaining a heartbeat. It doesn't stall, she says. It just stops. There's a difference. Your job is to put those 73 tons exactly where the gunner needs them, without being told twice. The hardest part isn't the controls, it's the terrain. You learn to read mud like a language, mud that grabs the tracks and pulls. There's a loneliness here. You can't see your crew. You feel the tank, but you don't see what it sees. When the main gun fires, the pressure wave slams through the hull and into your chest. You don't watch the round travel. You just feel the recoil and wait for the commander's voice in your ear. You graduate second in your cohort. Vargas signs your certification and says one thing: a good driver doesn't move the tank. A good driver moves the crew. Level 3, the gunner, age, 24, the weight of the trigger. The gunner owns the weapon. You sit to the right of the breech, surrounded by laser rangefinders and ballistic computers. You have thermal imaging that can resolve a human figure at 3,000 meters in total darkness. But all the technology is meaningless if you can't think faster than the target moves. Master Sergeant Philip Okafor, a veteran of 3 combat tours, teaches you the hardest lesson: the pause before the trigger. During a simulation, you're ready to fire when he freezes the screen. "What did you see?" he asks. You describe the target. He plays back the footage. It was a medical vehicle, its markings obscured by dust. "Congratulations," he says quietly. "You just killed a surgical team." You sit with that for 3 days. You learn that gunnery isn't just about accuracy. It's about the burden of choice. You don't become cold, you become precise. There's a difference. By month 4, you stop flinching at the moment of decision. You start looking through the target rather than at it. Okafor hands you your certificate with a rare half smile. Now you're dangerous. Try not to be dangerous to the wrong people. Level 4, the tank commander, age, 27, the internal intelligence. You're a staff sergeant now. You command a crew of 4. Your position is the highest in the tank, head and shoulders above the turret ring. In combat, this exposure has a name: situational awareness. It also has a cost. Snipers know exactly what a commander looks like. At the National Training Center in the Mojave Desert, you learn that uncertainty is a form of information. Your loader is the strongest man you've ever met but struggles with orders he doesn't understand. You learn to explain the why before the what. Your driver reads terrain better than you do. You start asking her opinion before making a move. Your platoon sergeant raises an eyebrow at this, but you tell him she's the best driver in the battalion. A commander who ignores the intelligence inside his own vehicle is already defeated. You learn to lead from inside the crew. The tank moves because four people decide every second to make it move together. You don't just drive the machine, you earn the crew's trust every single day. Level 5. The section commander age. 29. The geometry of combat. 2 tanks. 8 men. 1 decision maker. You are a sergeant first class, and your world has expanded from a steel hole to a sector of terrain you have to own. Section tactics are pure geometry. 1 tank stationary and watching while the other moves, then reversing the roles. Your wingman commander, Staff Sergeant Kwame Darko, has been in armor longer than you. He can diagnose a fuel leak by the smell of the exhaust. You rely on him, and you tell him so. You learn to treat disagreement as data. When you want to push forward and he hesitates, his caution forces you to justify your plan out loud. Half the time, saying it out loud reveals the flaw you missed. Section command is the last time you'll know every man by his first name without checking a roster. You hold on to that. Level 6. The platoon leader, age 32, the officer's burden. You're a second lieutenant. For vehicles, 16 men. Your platoon sergeant, Master Sergeant Victor Castellano, has been in armor longer than you've been an adult. He watches your first briefing with a stone face. When you finish, he asks, "What happens if Vehicle 3 loses comms during the overwatch?" You don't have an answer. Then your plan collapses, he says factually. You rebuild the plan. You learn that judgment isn't studied. It's accumulated one hard decision at a time. During a rotation, a vehicle takes a simulated IED hit. You have 2 minutes to decide. Extract the crew and lose the mission, or push on. You extract the crew. The mission is a failure on paper, but your people are alive. Major Sonia Lichtenberg tells you, "I won't tell you that was wrong, but I won't tell you it was right either." You think about that distinction for months. Level 7. The company commander age, 36, the mirror of readiness. You're a captain. 14 M1A2S, 62 soldiers. You no longer sit inside a tank. Your instrument is the radio and the digital map. Your battalion commander gives you one piece of advice. The company's readiness is a mirror. Whatever it reflects, that's you. When maintenance rates drop to 70%, you don't scream at the mechanics. You trace the problem to a broken supply chain, and you fix it. Your first sergeant, Priya Krishnamurti, tells you they trust you now. You ask how she knows. She smiles. Because they stop performing when you walk in. They just keep working. Command is not authority. Authority is given on a piece of paper. Command is granted incrementally by the people you lead, and it can be revoked silently at any time. You never stop earning it. Level 8. The battalion commander age, 42, translating chaos, lieutenant colonel. 430 soldiers, 42 tanks, a combined arms nightmare of logistics and fire support. You don't command tanks anymore. You command the conditions in which tanks succeed or fail. This is where political skill becomes a tactical weapon. Brigade wants one thing. Your company commanders need another. You learn to close the gap between intent and execution with fewer, better words. You present your data honestly, even the shortfalls. Your brigade commander, Colonel Oduya, says, "I'd rather have your honest problem than their polished fiction." You learn that if a sergeant can't understand your intent in one paragraph, the private never will. You think back to the 19-year-old kid at Fort Bliss who dropped his first round. You think he'd be proud of the man you've become. Level 9. The brigade commander age, 48, the iron signature, colonel. For 1,500 soldiers. 87 Abrams tanks. This is the most powerful ground combat unit on Earth, and you are at the helm. At this level, warfare is policy. When you move a brigade to a border, you are sending a geopolitical message. In a massive war game, the enemy disrupts your communications. Your battalion commanders are blind. You make a choice. Push all decision authority down. You give them the latitude to operate on your last known intent. It's a massive risk. 2 hours later, a battalion seizes an objective 3 kilometers ahead of schedule. The general calls it a calculated deviation. You realize the tank isn't just steel, it's the idea that disciplined, adaptive human beings can face the worst conditions and keep moving. You built that idea from the ground up, one round at a time. Level 10, the erased age, 54, the impossible unbecoming. There is no grand ceremony. Just a final signature, a date, and a handshake. The Army doesn't retire you so much as it stops needing the version of yourself you spent 35 years building. Your successor is a man you mentored. He is better than you were. And that is the right outcome. The rank comes off in stages. Your access card stops working. Your name disappears from the email chain. Your parking spot is repainted. You wake up at 5 o'clock out of habit, but there is nowhere to be. You sit in the quiet and realize you didn't become powerful and then lead. You learned to lead, and that was the power. The Army doesn't retire what you built. The judgment, the clarity under pressure, the ability to hold the weight of a decision, that stays with you. You are no longer a colonel. You are something harder to name and impossible to unbecome. The tank moved because you moved first. The rank was never the point. The rank was just the distance you had to travel to find out who you actually were. And now? Now you know.